Clap, clap, clap. We are live. Good evening, everyone. We are live on streaming on 3 channels tonight. There is at my left side maybe also at your right side is Gagan, and that's my dearest colleague out of London. Hi, Gagan. How are you?
Good. How are you, Nick? How's everyone doing today? We hope that you're doing well and you'll make the most of this video.
Yeah, because it's gonna be a beauty, this video.
Yes.
Yeah, no theory, only practical. How do you apply that law of attraction? Because I think I don't know what you think, Gagan, but I think that if you would Google it, it's the most searched law at this moment.
Indeed. And
Why should
still,
that be?
people get it wrong.
Yeah, but it's not because you search for something that you find something. So you can search, but if you don't know what you have to search for, then it's still it's mystery. And that's the goal of this live. We're gonna talk a little bit about how to apply that law, and from a daily perspective. No woo-woo stuff, or not from my side. What do you think? Practical stuff?
All practical, yes. And that's what I think the viewers need today. Because the thing is, before we go deeper into law of attraction or manifestation, it's very important that you understand the basics of that. Because what happens is there's so much information out there on YouTube, on TikTok, and it will tell you to do this and do that, but no one explains you the basics. And I think that's why we are here today, to explain you the basics, to give you the action steps to do, practical stuff that you can actually use and to manifest what you truly desire in life.
Yeah. And therefore, the most asked question, and I'll ask that question. It's like a question that comes from outside, but I'll ask a question to you, Gagan, so you can respond on it. The law of attraction, is that something that you choose to work with, or can you do without it, or does the law always work? What's your thought about that?
So the law always work, right? You it's always working. You're always manifesting things in life with law of attraction. For example, like law of gravity. You don't choose when it works. It's always working, right? Likewise, law of attraction is always working. So what I will do is say to my viewers is that you need to become a conscious manifester. That means you need to be conscious of what you want to attract in life. Does that make sense, Nick?
That makes a lot of sense. And I'm gonna manifest now something, and I do it right away. Very practical, because we announced that we should be 3 tonight. And I'm gonna manifest Paul now. I want to put Paul to show up, and I'll think about it. Yes, the law of attraction
Law of
works.
attraction, right?
Always.
I had
it
to get
works.
law of attraction Chrome, because I'm Mr. Apple, and I was trying to get on with Safari.
Yeah, I had the same
It was
thing.
like,
Oh.
it doesn't work.
Okay. So the law of attraction, there you are. So we were already busy, Paul. We didn't.
I know.
read.
I knew you guys should just be, rolling on. So
Yeah.
good to see you
And
both.
Gagan pointed you just out, and I like to hear your thoughts about it. The question was, the most asked question is, that law of attraction, is it is it a law of choice? Can we do without it? Or is the law always working? Because I think that's an important thing to know, that it is not something, or maybe, no, answer it. Give your opinion on it, Paul. Is the law an option, or is it always present?
It's always present. That's a really good question. And, a lot of people will look at law of attraction or manifesting as if it's something they're going to start to do. But we're doing it all the time. every moment with our thoughts, we are manifesting, bless you, we are manifesting what we currently have. So our present results are in relation to our present thoughts and what, you know.
Wait, to make it very clear for our audience.
Yeah.
So what you're now saying, and what
Yeah.
Gagan is saying, is everything what we have, see, touch, is done by the law of attraction, whether you know the law of attraction or whether you don't know the law of attraction.
Yeah.
So if tomorrow you bump into someone in his belly in the streets, he whether he knows the law of attraction or not, he's using the law of attraction. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, I mean,
If you listen to Neville Goddard, he says actually God is the name of laws. So that's the another name he uses to explain who God is. It's the laws. It's the laws of the universe. So whether you are aware of those laws or not, that doesn't matter. They're always working. If you believe in the universe, or even if you don't believe in the universe, right? It doesn't matter. It's still there, right? So it's same like, like I'm just thinking of an example, like they're all like law of gravity. It's always working. If you throw an apple up, it will fall down. There is no other way out. Likewise, the law of attraction is always working. And obviously we'll go more deep into it, but the answer is actually, straight away, Nick, it is yes.
It is yes.
I have a question.
Okay, I think that's for a lot of people already a new awareness. Because they have to accept. You have to accept that. It's not something that you go by and I say, I'll buy myself a little bit law of attraction, or I go, because you're using it already. You have it already. Maybe you don't understand it, how to use it in your favor. That's what we say.
Yeah. And that's why I said you have to become a conscious manifester. Right? You have to be conscious of what are you manifesting, because you are manifesting anyway. So when I say conscious, that means you're really taking control of what you're thinking, of what you really want at a core level.
So I was actually going to ask you about awareness, Nick. So, Gagan, great point that Gagan just makes. So why is it? Because awareness was always one of these things, but people would talk to me about, and I think, well, what is awareness? I'm aware. If I wasn't aware, I'd be bumping into a lamppost or something. So why do you think, Nick, awareness is so important to the law of attraction?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I think it is. Let's go back to that law of gravity, because that's a law that we all know. That's a law that we use every day. We are consciously and subconsciously aware of the law of gravity. If you walk out and you take a step down or step up, you know that you have to shift your balance. You do that automatically. If you want to jump off like 3 stairs, then you're calculating, because that's something that you don't know to do every day at a regular basis. So then you start hesitating. Now you're becoming aware of the law of gravity, because you start calculating. And that's the difference between using it on a subconscious level constantly, and you are aware that it is there, but at a certain moment you want to be aware of it and use it on purpose. And that's when it becomes very interesting, if you start using the law of attraction, not by habit, but what Gagan said, on purpose. So the thing is, when you are aware, then you are able to use it on purpose. And otherwise, you just will be like submitted to the law and not able to use the law in your favorite, but also in the favorite of the people around you, because you only use laws for the better of yourself and everyone around you.
And what do you guys think is like, because we hear people say it's a science. So, people, even when I was a kid, people talk about positive mental attitude and what have you. So if it's a science, can you just do positive thinking, or is there something else that we have to do as well as just think positive?
I am so grateful you asked that question, Paul, because
Okay.
it is such a big myth that you're positive and everything is fine. Yes, positivity is very important. I agree. But positivity is like wearing a ripped jeans. There is a rip there. If you're going to fix it, it will only be a patched. It's not going to be original, right? And if you really want to create a quantum leap in your life, and if you really want to create the results that you want, really truly desire, right? Then you have to transform. You can't put a patch of positivity and expect that things are going to change. They will never, right? What you really have to change is your thought, your mindset. That's what you need to do. If you really want to transform your life, it cannot just be positive. Yes, positivity, what will it will do for you is it's like a stick for a handicap. It will help you,
Mm.
right? But it's not going to make you all better. So if you have fractured your leg, that stick that you're holding is just like positivity. You're holding on to something and you're getting to the next step. But you
Mm.
can't you can't jump in your fractured leg with that, can you? No.
No. What do you think about it, Nick?
Well, I think that positivity is like the forced action. It is like the warming up, because of course, if you want to use the law of attraction, there is a positivity involved. You need to be but obviously you want to attract positive things, so you will need that positivity. But if you only go by positivity, you will burn up, because it is a consciously repeated action that you have to do over and I think and I believe that the law of attraction should be your next or your second nature. And it's not something that you do, it's something that you live. It's
Mm.
something that you are. It's not the law of attraction. Consciously attracting is not for me, but maybe we have to go a step back and explain what is now that law of attraction, and how can everyone in his daily life start to do some experience, have some experience with the law of attraction. Because it's for me, when I started to learn this, to become aware of it and to use it on purpose, it was like going to the gym. First it was exercise, and now it's becoming a habit.
Mm.
It becomes a second nature.
Mm.
And I think with every skill or everything that you learn yourself, in the beginning it feels a little bit weird, and you have to trust. And therefore, I think I would never have been able to really get into the law of attraction without any mentorship,
Mm.
because you don't have any point of reference. What you have to believe, what you
Mm.
have to experience, what you have to feel, what you have to think. You don't know.
Mm.
You're just doing, and you don't have that point of reference.
Mm.
My mentor could help me by guiding me, and the little manifestations,
My mentor
underline them and getting them on the surface, so I could have more confidence in the law of attraction. But
Mm.
let's talk about maybe the law of attraction. What is it? How can we now decompose the cake and explain to someone who is really new and never heard about the law of attraction? How can we explain it in a comprehensive way?
I always like when Bob Proctor used to talk about how he started everything, when he used to say, we're all energy. And then he told us that nothing is ever created or destroyed. Because I sat there and I thought, Bob always seems such a really nice guy, and he, bless him, he passed away earlier this year, but he was a lovely guy. But when I heard that, I thought, he's a little bonkers. he's a little crazy, because, you know, we're all energy and everything, nothing's created or destroyed. But, you know, that's the whole, and of course he has the story with the acorn, and that the acorn, unlike ourselves, we have minds that we can create anything. But an acorn, you know, when it arrives, it just has all the instructions within it to vibrate that, you know, as energy, that I'm an oak tree. And that's exactly how it sees itself. And so that's exactly what it attracts all the time. And I always, you know, when it got to an acorn, it got to simple terms that even I could understand. So that was the thing I always remember. But the whole thing of energy, I find so interesting once you understand that it's science. And if you actually go and check these things out for yourself, that we all are energy. So that's where it all starts for me. Where does law of attraction start? You know, or where do you sort of lead in with it when you start to think of it, guys?
I think, Paul, I agree with whatever you've said, and I think it's very powerful. I'm just going to add on to what you said, and that is that, as you said, we are all energy. Energy always come back to its source. So whatever you're sending out will always come back to you. So again, going back to what Nick was saying about law of attraction, there is no coincidence. There's nothing, right? So if you bump into someone tomorrow, it's because you're thinking about them today. Whatever your present is a result of your thought process from yesterday. So if and whatever you're emitting out with energy, and when I say energy, it's in forms of words, it's forms of feelings, it's all of that. It's just not one thing, right? What are you thinking? What are you? So obviously thoughts have power. The words, what you're speaking, they have power, they have magic, right? So what are you sending out? So what are you speaking? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? All of that, when it goes out, the air goes out in forms of energy, right? The words will go out in form of energy, the thoughts will go out in form of energy. And as I said, energy will always come back to its source. It will always come back. So what are you sending out? That's the question, I think, is for the viewers, right? What are you sending out? What do you say, Nick?
Well, I would add on that is that if we start with our thinking process, and we are all energy, we accepted already that from Paul. We are all energy circulating. Nothing is created, nothing is destroyed. There is not a second universe where we can shop something. Everything is already present in a form. If we look at science or at water and we heat it up, it's water and then it becomes steam. So we observe that everywhere. But I found it very interesting when Bob told me, yeah, this little pen has been a thought before it could be created. So in some way, form, someone thought of this pen. For me, it's a little, yeah. If you're now aware of it, yeah, and you think about it, and you really think about it, yes, there was someone thinking to create this before this existed. So it was first a thought and then a thing. And that gets us to the next step, is that everything what you see around you has then also has to follow that same rule, that same law. Everything what I see here has been created by someone and has been purchased by myself. So I bought this by thinking process. So everything what we see in our life, everything what is happening around us starts from a thinking process. And that's energy. So now we're getting closer to, okay, so if I think bullshit, I will
Attract.
Exactly.
And first time I got aware of that, well, it didn't feel good. It didn't feel good because I had to take responsibility.
Yeah, me too.
But I think it's so important to be aware where you are.
Yeah, but it's a
I know it
gift.
didn't feel good, but again, at the same point, I think it's so crucial because if you do not know where you are, you will never improve.
Yeah, but I remember.
Oh,
Nick's frozen.
Belgium has frozen, but just go.
Belgium has frozen indeed.
We'll wait for Nick to come back. He'll come back. He always
Yeah.
does.
So
But
while we're waiting, we can talk, right? So let
there
me
he
ask
is.
you a question.
He's there.
He's back.
Yeah.
It was just a little interruption.
That's fine. Law of
It was a
attraction. What did you attract, Nick?
Nick was saying how, it was a shock for me as well, because, when I realized that it was all down to me, my responsibility, I then started to beat myself up. And again, that in itself is a vibration. It's a law of attraction. So then when I was doing that, what was I attracting? One of the things that I find really interesting, because I like simple stories that about everyday life that explained some of this really complicated science. It's complicated when you hear it at first, but I love it with the law of attraction. When people always used to talk about vision boards, and you visualize it, but I used to love it when people talk about Amazon and say, well, when you order something from Amazon and it's next day, you start acting like it's already here, really. And that's one of the things that I really like, that story in regard to law of attraction, when people say, well, how can I start to behave like I've got that thing that I want to attract? How can I do that? And that story, because people do that naturally. Perhaps you guys can explain why it's important that you have to sort of imagine you're already at the place or with the thing that you want to attract, and you have to act as if you've already got it, which sounds crazy. Why is that important?
Well,
I love the story that you've used.
Oh, thank you. I got it off someone else. All stories you get from other people.
Well, I think that the season for it is very good because we are getting to Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then I was reading about it this afternoon, and I was remembered of it, like, if you give thanks, do you give thanks for the past, or do you give thanks for the future? And that's really what law of attraction is about. If you say thank you for what you got, that's obvious. You have it already. But if you say thanks for what you believe, for the next harvest, for what will come, then you attract it, because then you believe, you really in a deep level, you start to believe that, and you give thanks for what you pay up front. That's what we say. You have to pay up front. And don't give thanks for what you have already, you got already. Yeah, I gave thanks for the spend before I got it.
Right. So you've got to act as the person who's already got what you want to attract before you've already got it. There used to be a saying that I wasn't a favorite of. People used to say, you've got to fake it until you make it. And I used to think, well, you're not faking it, because if you truly believe in what you want to attract, that you've already got it, then it's not fake, it's real. You have already got it, because that's, you can't say to if you could talk to an acorn, you can't say to an acorn, now look, I want you to imagine you're going to be an oak tree. You're going to have to just fake it for now. The acorn would say back, what are you talking about? I am an oak tree. And that's exactly the mindset that you have to have. It takes a little while for you to, when I first heard that, to get it round your head, you sort of think, oh, hang on. But that's exactly, you have to be exactly what it is that you want to attract, as if you've already got it. Am I making a good job of explaining that?
I think in a very practical way is, if you're observing you're on holiday and you're observing the sunset, and you have still some days on your holiday, you're making plans for the next day,
Yeah.
and you already see your next day, and you're already grateful for the next day that will come, and you don't doubt it because it's in your plan.
Mm.
That's a little bit how the law of attraction works.
Mm.
You're, you're in your core belief, you're becoming that sure that what you want is available for you, that you don't doubt it. And when the doubt is away, the belief is there, and you will act as if it will happen.
Mm.
You want, if you're on that beach and you say, okay, tomorrow you have the next holiday day, and there is a lot of on the plans, you don't go back to the hotel and start packing your suitcase, because there is still a next day. You know that there is still a next day. You
Mm.
believe that there is still a next day. So there's no doubt. And I think it's that way that you should work with the law of attraction. If I attracting my favorite game, maybe that's more practical. My favorite game in the beginning was manifesting or attracting parking spots, because I didn't
Oh
like
yeah.
I don't like to look for parking. So I make it a game with my children. Say, I know that I will park my car in a circle of at maximum 20 meters from this place where we have to be.
Mm.
And every time I do it. I don't
That's
doubt
law
that
of assumption. That's
Sorry,
law
what
of
was
assumption. You assume it. It's
a
done.
law of assumption? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's done. It's done. I attract my spot. I don't have any doubt. I have a question here. So how
Paul,
about
I want to say something on that.
Go for it,
yes?
Gagan.
What I want to say is that the time, the day, everything, it only exists in this reality. In space, there is nothing like that. So when we are
Yeah.
talking about, okay, this day or that, and you know what you were saying, it's all because that's how, in the mind, there is nothing. In the mind, everything is in the now.
Mm.
Everything is literally in the now. That's why if you really listen to people who are very successful and philanthropists and everything, and they'll always talk about really live in the now. There's a book called Living in the Now, right? That you live in the now, because actually in the universe, in the language of the universe, there is no time space.
Now, how can we? Now we all know that because
Yeah.
we've heard it many times and we've got used to it. But how can we explain that to somebody who is just having that for the first time? Because it's kind of a bit whoa, you know.
But I want, actually, they need to reason the question. They need to really reason. So who created this time and day? It was the human.
Mm-hmm.
It again goes back to the place of awareness. It always goes back to what are you aware of today. So, you know how Nick was explaining the example of pen and everything. It all started in a thought. So someone decided, okay, you know how it's not from the day one of evolution, the months were there. Someone named them, right? The months of the year, January, February. They didn't come with our DNA,
Mm-hmm.
right? It didn't come with the dates. If you really look at it, different religions have got different time sets of the year, right? The New Year's will be different. For Chinese, it's different New Year. For everyone else, it's different. And it's likewise in the same way. Who started that? It was us. So really in the universe, there is no time, day, and space. And if you look at my rules of the mind, I'm a hypnotherapist, so I really know the rules of the mind. One of the rules of the mind is this: everything is in now, in the present tense. The mind doesn't know the difference. And when I say the mind, it's the subconscious mind. It doesn't know the difference.
Mm.
So if you can feel it now, what you were talking about, Paul, if you can really feel the possession of that thing now, you do not so what is happening is you are letting go of the resistance. You're working with the law of the resistance. Then you're letting it go, and what happens is when you let go of something, it comes to you very easily,
Mm-hmm.
without any effort, without the grind that we say
Magnetism.
used. So that's what I
Yeah.
would.
Because then the thing that you eliminate at that moment is doubt and fear.
Exactly. And
You,
again,
you
fear, where does that come from? It only started from the mind of the human.
Was it someone said doubt and fear is when you use imagination incorrectly?
Yeah.
Yes. The
I want
thoughts
to
are
talk
wrong.
about
Everything is wrong.
affirmations. Yeah, affirmations for a second. But to do that, I want to. Now, you guys can both speak other languages, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some.
I can speak 2 different languages. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Nick is
can you speak?
multilingual. Don't ask him. He could probably speak 5 or
Yeah,
7
you're multi.
languages.
Now, being English means I can speak English and bad English. So when you guys when you guys learnt those languages, you did them effortlessly, because you grew up with them, and you heard it over and over again as you were growing up. So it means you clever people can speak these languages, and it was so easy, and you didn't have to think about it. So if we take that experience into relation to repetition and affirmations, why is that important to make it easy and effortless when you are thinking about what do you want to attract?
First of all, what affirmations is what you say you become, right? So whatever you
Yeah.
are,
So
whatever you attach to I am becomes your identity of life.
yeah,
So
so your language, you just heard that over and over and over again, repetition.
that takes me back to the point of affirming. If you are affirming, like I used to be a teacher before, and in the playground, I would always see these children saying, "Oh, you're a loser" to each other, right? If you keep listening to it, that you're a
Yeah.
loser, you're a loser, what will happen one day? You will start believing it.
Mhm.
And once you believe, once it's entered your subconscious, that's it. That's your self-image right there for you.
Mm.
So
So
that's
the
where I think the
actual
affirmations are very useful, because whatever you will attach to I am will become the identity of your life. So if you start seeing yourself as saying I'm successful, but only use the affirmations which resonate with you. That's one thing I want to say. If you're using affirmations which do not resonate with your heart, you're not going to get anything out of it.
So if I want my new 4x4, what would be a good affirmation for me
No,
to
start seeing yourself. You already have that.
right? So I've got to talk to myself about the 4x4 that I've already got.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So when you're driving your old car, you're
Yeah,
imagining that you're actually driving a new 4x4.
right.
How
So
does
if
it
I
feel?
and then if I want to program my subconscious mind, so it's loaded with the programming, because we know the subconscious doesn't know any different. What would I say something like, I'm so happy and grateful. I've got my new Range Rover 4x4.
Well, that's what I manifested this year.
Oh, is it? Okay. I've got
Range
this
Rover
vision of
Vela.
this
Yeah.
4x4 getting pulled. We'll manifest too. So I would write that down, and I would just keep writing that down.
Well, that's where people go wrong.
Ah,
Yeah.
right. So what should they do?
Attach feelings. Feeling is the secret. That's a
Right.
powerful book. Feeling is a secret. How does it feel now that you have your new car?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, so right. So I've got the plush seats and the nice leather steering wheel and all the control, because men like buttons to press. So I've got to really get into that.
Feeling.
When I'm writing it, I've got to feel that way as well.
Oh, yes.
So why is it, guys, that feeling is so important?
That's the language of the universe.
The language of the universe. Now I know what you mean, but if
Nick is going to explain that.
if we're talking to, like, me when I just started this, how would you explain it, Nick?
Well, I would take you to the first experience that you felt in love with another human or another animal. When you know from the gut, if you say it to someone, "I love you," if it's something that you're saying from a conscious level to please someone, or from a heart level, and that you're on the same frequency. Because
Yeah.
being in love with something, I like to say you're being on the same level of something. You're on the same frequency of something. Now, taking that back to your car, if I say I have that Range Rover, well, I can do that because I don't want a Range Rover. So if I would say I'm so happy and grateful that I have a Range Rover, I would do it to please someone else, or I wouldn't believe it. I would feel it would be a rational speaking, and I can write that 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times. I don't believe it. I'm not in love with it. When you're getting in love with it, with the ID, you're falling in love with that ID, then you start to feel that twinkling in your body. Like, yeah, I would love a Range Rover. That would be a nice car for me. Yeah, I can see myself sitting in the car and driving around, smelling the leather. Yeah, and that booze surrounding system. Yeah, I would love it.
Lovely music system, by the way, for Range Rover.
Yeah, but I don't want a Range Rover. You can't convince me. I'm not in love with Range Rover.
There you go.
Fine.
So it's got to be something in alignment with yourself.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I think the most important is that you have to fall in love with the ID. And if you fall in love with ID, then you're getting on the same frequency level of it, and then it becomes real. I think what I saw a lot is, I'm writing affirmations. I'm writing affirmations every day, and they're writing it like they got a punishment at school.
Yeah. Get your lines.
Yeah, you have been a bad girl. All right, write it now. I won't throw anything at the teacher. I won't throw anything at the teacher. No. Well,
is that what you did, Nick?
Not at my school. It was the teachers just write. We won't write anything at the pupils. But so why is it that you've got to have this feeling of love? And I wonder to myself, how many people today are doing something that they really love to do?
Not that much. Are we getting here like a comment of Erica?
So yeah, you're right, Erica.
That's right. Yes,
it is. So you better, yeah.
Paul, can I come back to your question? Yeah. You were talking about the feeling, and we know that the feeling is the language that the universe speaks. So for the people who do not know, again, we're going back to the same point of everything is energy, right? And vibration is a frequency you are in. So if you are in a low frequency, that means if you are feeling low about whether it's yourself or your circumstances or your situation, you're only going to attract things on that frequency. So for example, I love using the analogy of the radio because it's so, again, like, daily use. If you want to tune into 100 FM, you cannot listen 100 FM music on 80 or 95 or even 99, right? You have to be fine-tuned on 100 to get onto that music. Likewise, in our life, if you want the things which are on higher frequency, because as we were talking about, that nothing is created, everything is already here, right? It's just the consciousness and the awareness that needs to shift. So if something is already here in this high frequency, and if you are in a low frequency, and Erica, as you were talking about, if you are feeling shit about yourself, right? And if that's where you are, you will only attract things which are on this frequency. So to change that, what you have to do is you have to shift your frequency. You have to manifest into this version of yourself, right? Whether that's a 6-figure version or a 7-figure version, or if it's a Range Rover, it doesn't matter what it is. It's already there. Start seeing yourself with that frequency. That's how you will get that frequency.
The thing about frequency, again, I love trying to put myself back in the shoes of before I learned about all this, and when you hear about frequencies and things, and you think, is this all real? And you think, well, you can't just change how you feel. But of course, now I've become aware of it, I realize that you do it all the time. Janet, my wife Janet, and I, we went out shopping a few weeks ago, and it turned out to be the last day of when the children were going back to school. Okay. and I'm not a shopper anyway. So the kids are everywhere. It's absolute bedlam. And I was not happy about that. Janet could definitely pick up the vibration that I wanted to get out of there. And so I was at a low frequency. As we're driving back, Janet then said to me, and she knew this would do it to me, by the way. Wives always do. And she said to me, Paul, it's going to be your birthday soon. What would you like for your birthday? Well, I was back
Changed
on
it, right?
my frequency changed like that. And I was like, oh, well, actually. And if you think about instances like that with yourself in your regular life, we do that all the time. So when we're thinking, is there a frequency? What is that? Well, it's that type of thing. And we can't change. Oh, yes, we can. We're doing it all the time, but it's done by our current programming.
That's true.
So,
That's why it's so important to change it.
yeah. And of course, the frequency of there's so many people out there nowadays who are in a frequency of fear. And if they can understand that by taking that emotion that you've been talking about, and you can transfer that, as you say, with the affirmations, and log that into your unconscious mind with the feelings, so the programming starts to reinstall with new programming like a computer. Your unconscious mind, this is the other thing. Tell me, guys, about the unconscious mind and your infinite power, and how your unconscious mind works all the time to attract what you want, if you're putting the right information into it.
So yeah, your subconscious mind is like a radio TV. Sorry, like a radio channel, radio recorder. It's taking it all in. It's taking all the information, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, whatever that is taking it all in.
So it's
And
always recording, no matter what.
always, it doesn't sleep.
You can
It
decide
doesn't sleep.
though what you want to put on the recording.
Like I'm just going to pause there. I'm going to go back to Erica's question. Sorry, Paul. I think
Oh,
I want to help her. What if you don't know how it feels to be successful? Ask
yeah.
yourself. You know it. Your divine self knows how to be successful, Erica. Write it down on a piece of paper. You know what the question you've asked us? What if you do not know how it feels to be successful? Write it down. Do some journaling. Ask yourself, how would it actually feel? And first of all, be clear on what successful means to you. Your success and my success could be very different. So be very clear on what success means to you first, right? Then think about second step would be go a bit higher than that. Defeat the logic, what you're creating, that I can't get that. Go higher. And then see, what can I get there? Guys,
Well,
what would you say to Erica?
yeah, but I know Erica a little bit longer. She's in my group. I would say to Erica, she knows that she's successful. She knows it, and she has been successful. She's a good dancer, very good dancer. Had an injury, but she knew that she was successful. She has that feeling of success. Maybe she is now blocking that feeling of success, and she doesn't let it come back, that feeling of success. So Erica, just go back to that beautiful dances that you already have performed, and there you find that feeling of success, and extrapolate that to new challenges. But there is that feeling of success, and we can all can be successful. It's just the task that you put in front of yourself. If you say, I want to sip a glass of water, well, if you manage to do that, you're successful. How does that feel, that you don't put the water over your head? So start from something very small and then make it bigger and bigger.
And also, Erica, I want you to say one thing that about success. Going to give your answer for that as well. But Erica, going back to your point of success, Write down things areas where you're already successful in life. And I'm sure there are some areas where you're already successful. So it's very important to even recognize that, because if you are just thinking you're not successful, it's very important that you are self aware that there are areas that you are successful in. Maybe you're not successful in one area, like where Nick is saying, and you're blocking that. So, why you understand, sorry, not understand, but while you acknowledge where you're successful, you will open up to receive the area where you're blocking. How to use law of attraction for attracting job? Well, you can attract any job,
Yeah,
any job that you desire.
yeah,
Okay, so if
just
you're, yeah, go
yeah.
on, Paul, you answer first.
No, I was going to say, just you know, it's just like you were going online and you could physically order your job and design it yourself. Write that down, exactly the job that you want, that the importance of that it's something you love to do. It's got to be something that connects with you, and just describe it. Now that sounds a little crazy because you think, well, I can't just write down the job I want and it's just going to materialize. But that's exactly how it works. That is exactly how it works. You
What?
focus on that picture of that job you want, and your subconscious mind will start to think of things that you can do, to little activities and little actions which will allow you to start moving towards that thing that you want. The important thing is when these little actions come up in your mind in the form of your intuition, most people think, oh, well, I could do this and I could do that, and we dismiss it because of our habits of putting these things off. But if you actually take some of these actions and follow through with them, that's where the law of attraction and action meet. Remember, attraction has the word action in it. If you follow through with these things, because it's your, what we call your inner self is talking to you. Sorry, Nick, you go.
Yeah, but he wants say guru is I'm preparing for a government job. Well, if you really want to have a specific exercise, before you fall asleep, imagine yourself the action that would precede the thing that's of getting that job. So if that would be a handshake that you would receive, if that would be the email that pops up, that would be a letter that you pull out of your post box. Imagine yourself not seeing it from a distance, but really imagine yourself feeling the action next, the next step that happens if you get a job, and get it very vivid, get it very colorful, and fall asleep with it. So you imagine it, and just before going to sleep, and you will see that you will, if you trust that process, that you will also take the right actions to get that job, and you will get that job, no doubt about it.
I love that. Your feeling of the wish fulfilled.
Yeah.
It's already done. Your job's already there. But can you see yourself there? That's the question. And if you can see yourself there, start feeling how it's going to feel when you have there. And if your desire is so powerful that you really, really want that job, then you will get that. But ask yourself, why do you want that job? I think that's very important as well. Why?
Mm.
Why? And that why will bring the feelings out, like Nick was saying, really feel. So if you do the why do I want this job? That will really help you connect to the feelings of why you want that, like of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Yeah.
And I think the trick is where the magic happens is what we said before, is that when the doubt and the questioning disappears. Because as long as you love to attract something, but in your back head somewhere, yeah, but I'm not sure. Yeah, but as
Well,
long
that's from a
that's
place of lack, not faith, then.
yeah,
That's
that's
what I
like
feel. That's a
lack,
place of fear.
faith, worry,
It's
whatever
lack
you
of
call
faith.
it.
We have
But
to
it
go back to remember what we did when we were children, because for those people who celebrate Christmas, when you're children and you think about what you want for Christmas, as far as you're concerned, that is coming.
No matter what.
Yeah, And then we get older when we start to pick up all this information from the outside, which tells us that you can't do that. But that's wrong. We need to think exactly as we used to when we were children. If you think about it and focus it in your mind and in your subconscious, it will literally come into reality. What's this? I hope
He's
you
asking
understand.
me. Yes,
Oh,
I do understand Punjabi because that's the language he speaks. Yeah, I do.
Okay, so that's a question for translation. So let's jump
Because
to another question. Because
I
became
became
an
an
alcoholic.
alcoholic and it got me stuck and scared of being, even though I was. Okay, Erica, I've got a question for you. Alcohol, what it does is it takes you from a place of give me a second, please. I know. Okay, so Erica, what it's doing is it's taking you from a place of where you're not feeling happy to a place of where it's just giving you momentarily happiness. That's what alcohol is doing. It's taking you pain from away from pain to pleasure. But you need to understand that is only momentarily. It doesn't bring you true happiness. It doesn't bring you happiness for long. And that's what it's doing. Uh, the way to come out of that is because the only reason you're stuck is because you're alcoholic is to leave alcohol. You have the power within you, Erica, to leave that. And if your desire of being on stage is so powerful, right, you will leave it. Right now, the desire is not that strong. Because if your desire is strong, nothing can stop you. Nothing. No alcohol, nothing in the world can stop you to get there. So I would say add fuel to your desire. And that's what you do when what Nick was saying, attach the feelings. How would it feel to be back on the stage again? How would it feel to be successful again?
and also I would suggest um, start acting as though doing all the things that you would do to prepare if you were, if you were getting ready to start dancing again. I'm scared of messing up. That's
I think
that's
again that comes from a place of lack of faith. It's
yeah.
fear. So
But
Yeah.
being scared is I think a good thing, because generally when you feel scared about something, it's because you care about it, and it's normally it's an indication that it's something you need to move forward and do, because it's that fear is like your ego trying to say to you, no, 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 let's just stay here. We don't need to go back on stage. That's because that's what your ego does. And you just keep moving for, if it's something you truly love, like we've been talking about, just keep moving forward and acting in a way as if you were exactly what you would do to get ready for a show, or start preparing all the things. Would you be doing certain exercises? Would you be, I don't know, whatever preparations you'd be making? And you're gonna feel scared, but that's what's that's what's great about it, because it means that you're growing again. You're getting back into where you really truly want to be. What would you add to that, Nick?
Well, I think that at certain point, it's good to take a step back. And if we, well, I want to keep it to the law of attraction. So if you want to attract again that success on stage, but there is a little bit lack in self-confidence, there is a little bit lack in, start to build up that again with small things that don't do not matter, like attract a parking spot, attract a cup of coffee, attract a phone call from someone, attract. If you start doing that and you start believing again in your intuition, and you start believing in, and you recognize, hey, that it's working, it's also working for me, then you can more easily go to bigger things and attract bigger events or goals in your life. I think if you start to like really from fresh and it's really new, and you don't have all the background of the mind yet, well, start with small things.
Build your
And
belief.
so that,
Yeah. It's a
And
good
also
so
idea.
that you
use the affirmation, I accept and believe in the power of manifestation.
Mm.
So if you start affirming this, that I accept and believe, right? As Nick is saying, you need to believe. So I accept and believe in the power of manifestation. So the more you will say that, maybe make it a habit of saying it 100 times a day,
yeah.
right? And really
Yeah,
looking,
affirmations like there is no second universe. Everything is already here.
yeah, so
I,
start
yeah,
believing it.
yeah. Start believe that, and that's also the reality. If you start believing that everything what you want is already here,
Mm.
you can't shop in another universe. It is in some form. It can be done.
Mm. And if you
And
think to yourself, I'm not going to say it 100 times a day. Well, if you're not saying that 100 times a day, then your subconscious is saying something else, probably 1,000,000 times a day.
yeah, that's another topic, of course, and that goes with the law of attraction. Is that self-talk?
Yeah, probably we can bring that up next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that self-talk that always is there, and but that's exercise. People, I think, also that the misunderstanding that we have to get out of the way, that the law of attraction is something that you pull out of the closet and you can use it. It is like going to the gym. It's like learning a new language. It's practice. It's understanding and practice. And by understanding the mind, the function of the mind, not what you think, but how to think, and getting better in that. And it's, if someone asks me when will I graduate in that, when will I be finished? Well, the good answer is never. You'll never be done. You will always getting better. And that's already accepting that. Me as a mentor, you guys as a mentor, we are studying every day. We are involved in that, but not only studying from the outside, it's from more particularly studying from the inside, questioning
Yeah.
ourselves. What is my what how is my self talk? What am I really in line with my goal? Being aware of that, and that you only can do it on a regular basis. Don't think that you say, I pull it out, I learn, I have a nice article about the law of attraction. Well, I saw something on YouTube from law of attraction. Now I can do it. Well, now you can tell it.
There was the one thing that I feel we're sort of rounding up here. There's one thing that I heard someone saying to me the other day, teaching me, and they said, look, someone said how to say affirmations.
Whatever you attach to I am becomes your affirmation. How many times a day? Depends upon you. 50 times, 100 times. As Paul just said, if you're not saying it, you are saying something else in your mind.
You do it in the mornings and before you go to bed, like Nick said.
Yeah, at least. First thing in the morning, the last thing before you go to bed. And how to say it, I am. I'm so happy and grateful, because you're talking about the job. I'm so happy and grateful for my new job. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm receiving this much money. I'm so happy and grateful for whatever that you desire. Okay, guys, I need to go because I have a flight to catch.
You can record it, by the way, on your phone, so you can listen to your own voice. That's always good. Okay.
It was a very nice talk. I hope that our audience got some clarifications on that law of attraction. Well, I think that if you recap it, understand that the law of attraction is an exercise. It's not something like magic. It's something that you learn to use, and you have to practice it all day long.
And every day is a new day. That's important.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
And
Anyway,
have a new day
you have a
tomorrow.
lovely trip, Gagan.
Bye, guys.
Take care, Nick. Bye.
Bye. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.